Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of What Should We Watch Tonight, a movie podcast where we answer cinema's question, what should we watch tonight? We have a lot to get into. We talk about hidden gems, we talk about new releases, we talk about movie news. My name's EJ.
And I'm Tony.
All right, Tony, let's get into this week's movie news, which we don't really have a lot of news to get into. So we're going to look at the first half of the year. First quarter of the year. Yeah. We're not even in the halfway point.
Boy.
And we've seen a lot of damn movies, though.
We have.
I counted my new releases on Letterboxd, and I'm about 30. I watch a lot of indie movies for review and stuff, too. So I'm at, like, a decent amount of new releases just from this year, let alone me rewatching the Paranormal Activity movies, which is what I'm currently watching at home.
Incredible.
I remember the first one being better than it was this last watch. So we're going to be looking at movies from this first quarter of the year, our best and worsts.
Okay.
Give me your worst movie you have seen so far in 2024.
You know, here's the thing, is that there are so many times when you'll watch a movie and it just doesn't work for whatever reason, but then you'll watch a movie where nothing works. And the entire time you're wondering, how did this get made? It's especially bad when it's a movie that comes from a big studio with a big budget, with big names attached to it. If you couldn't guess already.
It's Dune, no.
No, not quite. My worst movie of the first quarter of 2024 is none other than Madam Web.
My doll. She's not my worst. That is certainly a movie that is bad. She's fallen into my bad movie fandom that I'm like, I like her. I've rewatched Madam Web. I will say once it came on digital, I rewatched it.
Oh, boy.
I equally just as funny. I think that movie is the most funny movie I've seen this year, and it's not supposed to be a comedy.
It's incredible.
Dakota Johnson, that baby scene, that baby shower scene is a masterclass of cringe, and nobody is on her level. But goodness, it is a bad movie. Why is it like so? We've seen a couple movies, like, you know, Night Swim came out this year. There's been not great movies. Why is like Madam Web so like kind of a stinker for you? Is it what we talked about last week of too much money, too many people? Should have been better.
That is a big part of it, where it's one thing if you have a movie that doesn't do particularly well or that is put together poorly, that doesn't really have much of a budget, it doesn't have a big studio behind it. But when you have everything you could possibly need to make a good movie and you still can't get some of the most fundamental aspects of filmmaking correct, whether it's the way that the script is written or some of the acting. There are moments where one of the characters is speaking and they did ADR, which is additional dialogue recording, except they didn't match his mouth flaps.
Oh, the ADR is so good.
So it looks like a 70s kung fu movie being redubbed.
But in the future, they have powers, and they will try to destroy me. I came from nothing, less than nothing.
Except in a $100 million, massive film. And it's just, and these are things that are not, these are mistakes that are easily fixable.
Yep.
You know, and so the fact that they had all the potential in the world, they had all the resources that they could need, and they still just could not get it right in almost any way, is why this is my worst movie of the year so far.
Yeah, and I definitely would say it's different because like equally Rotten Tomato score wise, Batman v Superman is like an equally negative review. I don't think that's as bad as a movie as Madam Web, because I think one, Zack Snyder had a vision. Yes. Madam Web does not have a vision, a point of view. Zack Snyder. It's Snyder,
right?
But he has a point of view, and he did think, you know. So that's why, like, in the ranking of bad superhero movies, Madam Web does rank lower for me because it is a little bit soulless. Even Daredevil felt like the most the Ben Affleck one.
Yeah.
It felt like the most edgelord 2003 movie,
right.
And again, it has a personality, a charm, very Evanescence, very Hot Topic goth.
Absolutely.
This movie is not that. It's not campy, weird like Birds of Prey, which I think is one of my favorite superhero movies. I love Birds of Prey. Yeah. Talk about gay villain, like, ooh. Oh, man, that villain in that movie. That's a movie suggestion one day for sure, because I want to talk about that with you. But yeah, that movie, again, point of view. Mm-hmm. It's campy, it's over the top, maybe a little messy, but it's, again, purposely messy. Any of the flaws here, I can't be like, it's an artistic choice.
No.
Lady Gaga used to do this thing of, I don't make mistakes, I make artistic choices. And I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
There's no artistic choices in Madam Web, and that's why I agree. That's my worst movie of the year, is a similar movie.
Okay.
Mea Culpa. It is a Tyler Perry production.
Oh, well, all right.
Period. End of sentence.
Yeah.
And again, Tyler Perry in this industry has grown from just doing plays to having an entire production studio in Atlanta. What he's done for film and what he's done in this thing, there's the Oprah backing, slight asterisk to it. I appreciate Tyler Perry. I think it's cool. God-awful director, one of the worst writers. This movie is the density of failure that Madam Web has. But in a whole different way. It is the least sexual, sexy movie I've ever seen. Showgirls is up there with like, this movie is not sexy. I love Showgirls, one of my favorite movies. But this movie's like not sexy. It's Trevante Rhodes, who, what happened to him? Did he get a concussion on Moonlight and forget to act? Because where's he gone? And Kelly Rowland, Destiny's Child, infamously dropped the F slur in Freddy vs. Jason, lived with me forever. One of my favorite moments in cinema. I quote that too often. Don't cancel me, guys. But no, it's Kelly Rowland, Trevante Rhodes, and a bunch of other actors. He is accused of murder. She is the lawyer who's trying to get him off. She falls in love with him while she's married to another man who his brother is trying to prosecute. It is the most Tyler Perry production. I mean, the green screen is bad. The ADR is bad. The dialogue is bad. My boyfriend doesn't usually critique movies that I'm watching. He's like, never one. Sometimes he'll be like, what in the hokey pokey movie you're watching? He walked in on this and was like, bro, this is the worst dialogue I've ever heard in my entire life. And I'm like, I know.
He liked to pull my hair and make me gag. He was sadistic.
It is my 1-star movie of the year. Even most of them bad movies, I give it a 1.5. This was my 1-star movie of the year. It is so bad.
Incredible.
Netflix, if you guys want to venture into it, because again, Tyler Perry has a fan base, a cult following. And again, I saw it because I know what his movies are, though. So I willingly walked into, because there's one he did years ago called Acrimony with Taraji P. Henson. The worst movie I've ever seen. They filmed it in about 3 weeks. And top 5, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. When they're like, Batman v Superman, I'm like, girl, watch more movies. There's worse movies out there. But yes, so we talked about the bad. What's some of your best of the year? I know we were talking about it a little bit pre. You're kind of torn.
So there's a couple movies that, one I think is probably the best movie of the year so far, and the other one is a movie that I was surprised to like as much as I did. So what I would say for me is the best film release so far this year is going to be Dune Part 2, which is a surprise to no one. Well,
surprise to me.
It's an incredibly well-made movie. It has some issues. I think for me towards the end, it felt a little bit rushed. But overall, it's a visual, spectacle masterpiece. It is just it is. One of the reasons that you go to a theater to watch a movie is to see something like that on the big screen. So that's the easy pick for me. The one that I think not a lot of people are loving as much as I did, but I really enjoyed it, is the remake of Mean Girls. I thought that was a lot of fun. There are some things that were... Oh God,
I hate both these movies so much. No, I'm glad you... Mean Girls, go on about Mean Girls, because I came in as a big fan of Mean Girls. I was 14, 15 when that original came out. I was in high school as a gay kid. Mean Girls was my life. So you kind of came in, obviously, not that perspective of your life. So
slightly different.
I was so curious on why you kind of was surprised by it.
So I love the original Mean Girls. It's an absolute classic. And I felt watching this new one, first off, the actress that plays Regina George in this one,
Renee Rapp.
Renee Rapp is, incredible.
Yeah, I have a song from her. It's Not My Fault. It's the one she did with Megan Thee Stallion for this movie. It's like the end credit song. I'm addicted to that, and I'm like, she's so good.
Put her in everything.
Yeah,
I love her.
Did you see her press tour for this?
Bits and pieces.
It's like Dakota Johnson level of I don't care, but so good. Yeah, she was the best part. Her and the guy who played Damien.
And
Tina Fey, surprisingly, I thought was Tina Fey. I miss Tina Fey.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Mean Girls, the remake, that I like so much is that with the original, it was a snapshot of that time, and it was something that kids that were growing up in that era that they could connect with on a deeper level and really get a lot out of. And I felt that with this new movie for our current generation, we got to face it.
It is pretty Gen Z, And I think that's the thing that kind of threw me off. It is the movie feels very almost framed and made to be on TikTok.
Yeah.
I feel like everything's center framed, so we can chop off the thing and make it a vertical video for TikTok. It just feels very TikTok. And again, I'm someone who likes TikTok. I do my little filters and my little stuff. I like it. It lost me a little bit there. And it felt, I think, rewatching the original, and they use the R word that we don't use often. The too gay to function and all that, which they do here. It just felt so politically incorrect, and that was the time. So this one just felt a little too sanitized for me. That was my biggest complaint, was the bite that wasn't there. And we have changed as a society, and please don't call people words that Regina George called people in the original one.
Yeah.
Whew. But at the same time, I kind of wanted a punk rock edge to it, and I felt that this was very sanitized, and that was my biggest thing, was like coming in. And again, I'm the 30-year-old gay man who shouldn't be yelling at the new Mean Girls, which is why I didn't really review it or really have much to say, because it's not for me.
Not for you,
And it should have been, and maybe that's why I'm a little upset. Wow, and my best is much different than yours.
Oh boy.
It is a UK movie.
Okay.
Indie film festival kind of movie. And now I've been getting a lot of ads for it on Instagram. It's called Femme. It is a revenge movie about a performer. It's a drag performer, Nathan Stewart Jarrett. He has been in a couple movies. He was in Candyman. If you saw the Candyman remake, he was the brother. Remember, he was the gay brother, I believe. It's that guy. And he's really, really good actor. He's a drag queen who gets assaulted by a very chavvy, bro-y white dude.
Okay.
Played by George McKay, who was in 1917.
Oh, wow, okay.
So these two, and this was like a short film that was done with different actors who were like equally as big.
Okay.
Like, you were like, oh wow, this was the short film had equally good actors. So this was good, and it's a revenge story. And he begins to seduce the straight man.
Okay.
As he kind of knew that's the thing. So
Yeah.
they run into each other, and his whole revenge is, I'm going to record him.
Oh,
boy. But then there's a moment, I interviewed the two directors, which you guys can see on Flickering Myth, and there was a moment where I kind of go, well, I can fix him. And then I'm and the movie kind of wants you to feel that way, because you're kind of like, well, the hookups aren't the, and then by the time you're like, and it's a revenge movie. It doesn't have the level of violence that there was. The first attack and the last attack are very. The last one is an extended fight scene.
Okay.
The first one is more stripping of the drag, and you see Nathan's character start presenting. One, he's hanging out with the bros.
Yeah.
So he starts acting and dressing different because he's trying to infiltrate. There's a lot of layers to it. It's a really heavy movie.
Okay.
Only reason it's kind of hard for me because Letterboxd has it as a 2023 release, so it can't rank on my 2024 thing
because
this is
in the UK
yes. So this is my number one movie, other than the movie that we will be talking about later, which is my favorite movie of the year. But this has been like just a movie that stuck with me. It's a queer revenge story, which we don't get often. It's very different. It's very, very different than most of what I've seen. Two great performances, and again, there's sex scenes, but they're not too graphic. The violence isn't too graphic. It doesn't feel like it's, especially like watching a black man get traumatized by like very Nazi-coded white dude.
Yeah.
You're kind of like,
that's tough.
Jinkies, like I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
And it's handled all very well. It's a very good movie. Find it if you can. There's no streaming really for it. It's vaguely still in the things. Check it out if you can. It's called Femme, Femme.
Okay.
Look it up if you guys can. Hard-hitting movie, definitely, not as light as Mean Girls or not as fun as Madam Web, at least bad-wise. This was a heavier movie, but definitely one that I think should be on people's radar. Won't be film awards contender, but a really good movie. So, those are our best and worst of the year so far. We have a big movie to talk about that is quite the movie that is one of the best of the year, I think, so far. Well, let's get into it after the break.
We usually have different types.
So you're saying I should be flattered?
Aren't you everybody's type?
We are back with our movie review section. We both saw a movie that we just are now able to talk about. We're filming this. I mean, we saw this 3 weeks before it came out.
Yeah.
Very confident studio and a very confident movie.
Yes.
We're talking about challengers. Luca Guadagnino, Zendaya.
Yeah.
The two twinks. Mike Faist and Josh O'Connor. What did you think of this? Holy smokes, a lot of a movie.
This movie has been, I feel like, talked about a lot for a long time. The trailers came out what seems like forever ago. And it is a bit odd that we're only able to talk about it now because, generally when there's a movie that is good, they want you to talk about it immediately. But they kind of held us back for a little bit, but now I'm so happy that we're able to talk about it. I, going into it, had some expectations. You kind of see the trailers and you see where it's going with Zendaya and her relationship with these two men. And boy, it lived up to my expectations. It exceeded my expectations. This movie, there were moments even early on in the film where I just sat back in my chair and was like, wow, okay, we're about to experience something here.
Yeah, there was that scene. I mean, Zendaya does the same thing where she like leans back. You've seen it in the trailer, and it's the exact moment you think it's happening, where she takes it all in.
Yeah.
And she's this character. I don't think I've seen a character like Zendaya's character in this. Tashi, I believe her name is. Tashi is the character's name. That I've not seen a character like Tashi almost ever.
Yeah.
It's one. I feel like a character usually men get to play.
Yes, it's a very masculine.
Very masculine character. The way she handles things, the way she's so. I almost want to say evil. She's very cold.
Yeah, I didn't get her being evil as much as I got her having her. She was in her own world. Like she had her own goals and perspective, and I think that when watching the movie, you almost want to have her be that typical female character who's like, oh, she's gonna fall in love, and it's like, no, she knows what she wants, and that's that, and like no one's gonna get in her way, and so I didn't get her as being evil as much as it was. She's just very driven and very purposeful.
Yeah, because we definitely see the two men. So kind of the plot of Challengers. I don't want to spoil anything because one, it's hard to spoil. There's not really much to spoil, but you know what I mean. It's a weird movie. It's one of those. But so the basic plot is she is a tennis star. She kind of meets these both men at the same time. They're both their own tennis proteges in their own way. One's a little bit better than the other. And she meets one, begins a relationship with one. Life gets in the way, things change, they get older, and she kind of moves to the other guy.
Yes.
Through machinations and stuff, but there's a moment where you kind of see these two, and they're kind of almost a pair. Fire and ice is what they call them in the movie. That's kind of their vibe.
They were a duo in
tennis. A tennis duo. Very, I don't really watch tennis, but I can think of Venus and Serena are kind of the only duo I can think of.
Sure.
They are the tennis people. And so that's also what I thought. I thought this movie was going to be like a tennis movie. Like there was really good tennis scenes. I love the framing device at this match between the two, that they kind of years later are coming to face each other. A lot of tension, a lot of emotions are there, years of stuff, and this movie is just really interesting because Luca Guadagnino is a filmmaker who's very unafraid.
Yeah.
Bones and All, Suspiria, Call Me by Your Name. These are films that are just bold.
Yes.
And this is equally as bold and sexy. He is a sexy filmmaker. Yeah. This movie isn't overtly sexual. I wouldn't say it's a very dirty movie. There's a couple sex scenes.
Yeah.
And there's the very
a couple things
infamous kiss. There's a lot of nudity.
Yes.
I was not expecting full frontal male nudity. Not from the two main actors, though.
No.
But just characters in this movie that I was
background.
Like, okay, sure, we saw that today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a sexy movie. Call Me by Your Name is also very much sexy. Suspiria, for as weird as it was, I don't know if you saw his Suspiria.
No, I haven't seen.
Boy.
Yeah.
Dakota Johnson eating up a movie.
All right.
Great. Mia Goth, that cast, Tilda Swinton.
Okay, it's on the list.
Put that on the list.
Yeah.
He's a filmmaker that's just so sexy. And this movie is hot. And it's not just the tennis, it's the attitudes of the people.
Yes.
Everyone is just like, minus Mike Feist's character, who's a bit more timid and kind of ready to exit one part of his life.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy how everyone knew what they wanted.
Yes.
Everyone had a point of view. I understood each character in the goods and the bads. There's characters who make moves in here that I'm like, I hate that you did that, but I got why you did that.
Yeah. You're dealing with three professional athletes who are, very driven and determined to achieve their goals. Mike Feist, a little less so, oddly enough. But
Josh O'Connor's kind of the bum of them, the three, but also not really. Like, he's very motivated too. It's really weird.
Yeah, and so it's all of their actions. It's all believable. Like you can see and understand why they are doing what they're doing, and you can see almost from the very beginning how it's going to lead to all of these difficulties. It's very much a relationship drama, and in the realm of tennis. And there are a number of scenes where. And this isn't really a spoiler at all, where Josh O'Connor and Mike Feist are playing tennis, and you see Zendaya's character sitting on the sideline and just watching back and forth as they're playing, and the ball is moving, between them back and forth, and that is almost, it's a visual representation of, her, bouncing back and forth between the two men, and like what that does to their relationship, both romantically between Zendaya and both of them, and also between the two men themselves and their friendship. They've been playing tennis together since they were children and have had a relationship of their own, whether it's romantic or not.
That's something I want to talk about with you. We're not going to get into full spoilers. What did you feel about those two's friendship, relationship? Was there one into it's not a gay movie.
No.
vaguely bisexual, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, Josh O'Connor's character, we kind of see him through Tinder, and he seems to be looking for both.
Yeah.
But what did you feel about those two characters thing? Like, what was it going? Because there's a lot underneath the surface with those two.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting kind of exploration into the spectrum of sexuality, right? And it's not as much as just as binary as people like to think, where it's you either like men or you like women. And it was very much like these are two men that have come up together from their childhood and have experienced so much like being with each other, and perhaps there is some kind of a romantic connection between them, but I didn't get that they're gonna pursue a relationship after the movie. To me, it felt like they have an understanding and perhaps even a love for each other that kind of waffles on that line of is it romantic, is it not? And that's fine, and that is kind of what they're exploring in this movie.
Yeah, I liked it. It was a different kind of conversation. It's a different kind of masculinity that we see, because they're both very much bros. They're tennis dudes, but they're a little soft boys. They're like sensitive guys. There's also that weird scene when one of them's in the sauna naked with each other, and there's like always seems to be kind of a weird one-upmanship with it. It's weird. It's very much like I Love American Dad. And there's an episode where Roger and Stan are fighting each other. Roger's the alien, Stan's the main guy. And Hailey, the daughter, keeps going, God, you guys should just have sex with each other and get it over with. And that's kind of how I felt the whole movie. I was like, there's so much tension that I'm like, bros, do something. What's going on? There was so much tension. And there isn't a time where, other than I can think of recent years, Marriage Story, there hasn't been a time where there's been like a marriage or relationship, just drama. No extra stuff. Like Saltburn's a satire of of the wealth and the crap. Drama-ish. There's been dramas, but Challengers to me is a throwback, just drama. It's just watching people who aren't really the most likable people be themselves and unfold, and you're kind of in their relationship. And
absolutely,
it's just a really well-made film too. Our screening was a bit jarring because we had maybe not the best setup for it. Our aspect ratio was a little off. But I really want to see it in its proper thing, because I really love the score. I think
the score is insane.
Now, the score can be a bit overbearing. I think it's intentional.
Yes.
Again, Luca Guadagnino is one of those filmmakers. We talked about it last episode with like Dev Patel being messy and Christopher Nolan being such a perfectionist. Luca seems to be in the middle of that. He seems like he knows what he wants, but when he's there, or if he's in the editing bay and he's like, nah, bro, let's make that a little louder. It's going to be a little louder. And I like that him as a filmmaker. have you watched any of his movies before?
Yeah, but I'm not as well versed in his filmmaking, but I definitely agree with you that it feels like he knows what he wants, and he's not afraid to go outside the box a little bit. There are moments in the movie that the music hits specifically, and it's definitely not what most creators would put in there in that moment, but it hits and it's so jarring, and that might turn people off, but for me it made it all the more impactful and memorable. And so I think he knows what he wants, and he wants to get that emotional response out of you, and he's not afraid to, get a little crazy to do that. He's a filmmaker that it's rare to see a filmmaker like him, especially it's rare to see a movie like this that, it's getting an IMAX release. It is not a Marvel movie. It's not this thing, and I think it's going to look great. I mean, there's a scene where you're literally the tennis ball at one moment where it's like, I think it's going to be great. It's nice to see that this movie, again, this year has really started off with like, even the best or worst, it's been movies that have had personalities. Again, maybe not the best, like a Madam Web, not the best personality, but there's something to it where you're like, you remember it. Because there's going to be movies you see this year, now that especially that you're in the critic role, where you're like, I saw that in January? It's just going to be gone. You'll never remember Night Swim. I barely remember seeing Night Swim, and I saw it 2 months ago. It's just now on Peacock, guys. Try it out. But yeah, I don't know. Challenges is going to be one that I think is going to get a lot of people talking. Zendaya fans are going to eat well. She is amazing.
If you like her in Euphoria, this is closer to Euphoria than I think her other roles. So she's in Dune this year. Back to back, just.
Or if you have a crush on Zendaya, you get to see.
Not nudity, though. No, I will say, because back to Euphoria in this, she's definitely like, I'm not showing you the boobies.
But she's looking nice.
She looks great. I mean, that little bob she has, too, she looks great. And the guys, too, I mean, everyone's hot. Everyone's agitated. It's one of these movies where I'm like, God, if everyone could just sit and make out with each other, we could have fixed issues. All right, let's wrap up this section. Let's get to our what should we watch tonight? Because we have some fun picks there.
Absolutely.
Now that we've trash talked people in between our break, let's get into what should we watch tonight. Tony, what should we watch tonight?
All right, so last week I recommended a movie that was celebrating a 20th anniversary, something that was shot here in the Tampa Bay area.
Yes.
This movie that I'm recommending also celebrating its 20th anniversary.
Ooh, make me feel old. Gray hair's popping up.
Oof. Not filmed in the Tampa Bay area, but another underrated and maybe underappreciated fun comic book movie. I feel like I'm on a trend here.
Yes.
Because here's the thing: is I know you're going to come at me with some, independent,
Probably, probably, yes.
Some artsy movie. I'm here to try to come up with something that is maybe you haven't seen in a long time, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And for me, that is the 2004 Hellboy.
Oh man, 2004. When was the sequel? Maybe 7, 8?
I think 2007.
Yeah, around there. Wow.
So the 2004 Hellboy, which stars Ron Perlman, of course.
So good.
Directed by
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, I can never say his name right.
Yes.
Which is, I'm Hispanic, and it's always like a little
Yes.
upsetting. But Guillermo del Toro, and it's one of Guillermo's earlier films. He had done. I think Blade 2.
Yeah, he had Blade 2 under his thing, maybe Pan's Labyrinth and The Devil's Backbone.
Pan's Labyrinth was afterwards.
Right after? Wow. Yeah, that would have been, like 2006 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, he had The Devil's Backbone in the 90s, which is a great, we're talking about a film. Guillermo del Toro is one of the best filmmakers we have.
Incredible.
Even in Hellboy.
Yes.
Even in Hellboy, he is showing out.
And look, Hellboy, I think it got pretty decent reviews when it came out. Didn't make a ton of money, but made enough to get a sequel, and a lot of people believe the sequel is even better. So
I like the sequel a bit, yeah.
But with Hellboy, first off, the fact that movie cost, I think maybe like $50 million, something like that, maybe not even, and came out 20 years ago and looks as good as it looks, and then you watch some, $200 million Marvel movies.
Or you watch the Hellboy remake.
Yeah, and it is stunning how gorgeous that movie is. For the budget and
it's
time.
Del Toro, man.
Yeah.
Like, you look at his Pinocchio, which I didn't really like, or Shape of Water, which is one of my favorite Best Picture winners. Like, he knows how to make sets.
Oh, my God.
He knows how to make art direction, and he's a director that, like, I feel every director finds their home.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this. I like this. Guillermo del Toro seems like he loves creatures. That's his,
Oh, yes.
And he loves art department. I think, Christopher Nolan loves his editors.
Yes.
Tarantino loves his editors and his composers.
Right.
We have Zack Snyder loves his cinematographers. We all have directors who love their things.
Yeah.
Guillermo is a art director because the way Perlman looks in this movie is timeless. And Perlman is great under a bunch of poop. He was in the Beauty and the Beast show in the early '90s, which my mom loved. That's how I first saw Ron Perlman. Was him as a beast, and I thought he was kind of hot. I love Perlman. I got to interview him once. He's so
amazing.
cool. I got to interview him for Nightmare Alley.
Oh, wow.
And what a man. What a guy he is. And just his thing. And this cast is good. I mean, Doug Jones,
iconic.
A creature master as well. Selma Blair's in this. Who was the villain of this one? I forgot.
Oh,
Nazi?
Yeah, it was like a Nazi situation where they were trying to, I think, get this. It was the spear that pierced
Jesus.
Christ?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so the story itself is kind of, whatever. But just the art, Guillermo del Toro is a nerd in the best possible ways.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the way that he poured himself into this movie. And it is, woefully underappreciated, I think. And, again, I can't get over how amazing it all looks. The set design, the creatures, the way that they blend CG in with practical effects. There are moments where the characters are fighting or whatever, and there will be a shot that is CG where they're slinging themselves across a room, and then it cuts back to them actually being in their costumes and in their makeup, and it is seamless. Especially for the time that it came out. And I think it is a lot of fun. It is a really solid movie, and it's unfortunate that it hasn't really worked out for Hellboy as of late, but.
No.
This, if you want to see Guillermo del Toro in his element early on and kind of get an idea for where he's going to go.
Yeah, before Prestige del Toro, which he's definitely gone a route that he likes his, he's trying Pinocchio. He did it with Shape of Water. I can't believe he won Best Picture. It blows my mind that, again, the Hellboy director won Best Picture.
Amazing.
But again, the Farley brothers won for Green Book, so, shit happens sometimes.
Yeah.
My choice is not Hellboy.
I should say 2 words. Currently available.
Yes.
Right. It is on streaming for free, I guess, on Tubi.
Yep.
Yeah, on Tubi.
If you guys don't know, Tubi is just in the States. I work for a UK website, so we're often having to talk about it. Tubi is a free-to-use service. if Tubi wants to sponsor us, bro.
Yeah.
I love Tubi. Tubi's one of those things where I can watch like old school 70s horror movies and they have them. There's commercial breaks that you have to take. Tubi's better with placing them though than most of them. Where I'm like, wow, we stopped in the middle of dialogue to throw a commercial break. Tubi's a little bit better with that. So yeah, watch Hellboy where you can. Watch Hellboy 2 as well. Both were great. Don't watch the remake. So my pick is to kind of tie into, you know, prestige filmmakers kind of doing their thing. I kind of want to look at overall the work of Luca Guadagnino while we're talking about him with Challengers, but specifically Call Me By Your Name, which was a movie I did not like upon release. I didn't really care about the age gap stuff. I mean, welcome to being a gay person. Sorry, guys. We go after older people sometimes. That is the least shocking part of that movie. Timothy Chalamet, Armie Hammer being in that movie is more shocking. I think it's one of those movies that Luca, I think Suspiria is my favorite movie that he's done, but I rewatched Call Me By Your Name recently, and another movie that just is paced so well. You feel the moods. It's like Italy porn as well. Everything looks gorgeous. And another director who really loves art department. Challengers, costumes, the sets, everything looked good, even if it was real. You know, Call Me By Your Name is very 70s. Suspiria is very ballet 70s, weirdness, witchiness, and as well Bones and All, which is a kind of smaller movie he did. No one really remembers Bones and All at all with Timothy Chalamet and Taylor Russell when they eat people. Again, just good sets, good stuff. Call Me By Your Name's just old school 70s feeling. Timothy Chalamet is an actor who I've grown with. I did not like it. One, I think Timothy Chalamet's character, Elio, in Call Me By Your Name is one of the most insufferable characters. Just pure 17-year-old douchebag. And I hate him. And I thought he was going to be stuck there forever. And now he's like the savior of the sand people of Dune world. So yay, Timothy Chalamet. But yeah, he's grown as an actor. And, you know, I was really an Armie Hammer person. I know it's controversial to say now, but I really thought when Hollywood kept trying with him, I kept trying with him. Like Man from U.N.C.L.E. and he was in
Death on the Nile.
Death on the Nile. Fucking Gal Gadot saying we have enough champagne to fill the Nile. Burned in my head. Bad line delivery like Dakota Johnson.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think Luca Guadagnino, you know, just kind of talking about him and Guillermo del Toro, these prestige directors from different countries that. One, you know, Luca made a very American movie as well with Challengers. I think Challengers feels so authentically American. It kind of reminds me of French cinema and Italian cinema where it's hot people being hot and sexy, which is very French, very Italian cinema. If you ever watch those movies, it's people smoking cigarettes, just being hot. And that's what this movie is. It's like the scenes where like they're smoking cigarettes and I'm like, God, that looks hot again. Like, I miss people smoking in movies, like, because we don't see that enough, too, as well. Yeah, I really think Luca Guadagnino is a filmmaker. Call Me By Your Name is available on Hulu right now.
Okay.
If you ever want to kind of go back and watch it, it was a big movie when it came out in 2017. It was kind of like one of the talking points, Oscar contender and all that. Didn't really go anywhere after, but Luca stayed around. You know, he's a director who Call Me By Your Name did well. You know, Suspiria and Bones and All, his weird horror movies didn't really go that far. Suspiria was kind of a cult film, though. Fans love it a lot. Another, if you ever see the original Suspiria, Dario Argento, go back to 70s.
Okay.
Woo, that is, like the movie, that movie is like let's say we have like lighting on set. Everything is, all the lights are just gelled. He's like, throw a red gel over that light. That's just what we're lighting the scene with. And I'm like,
okay.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Again, I just like filmmakers. Luke, you know, now looking at what our kind of theme is for what we should watch tonight. Looking at these filmmakers who are just bold, artsy guys who don't really just make artsy-fartsy movies.
Right.
I don't think Challengers is the most inaccessible artsy movie. No. Hellboy, you know, with Guillermo del Toro. These are movies that like these filmmakers are truly like, we can mix art and prestige into our blockbusters.
Yeah, you can appeal to everyone while still being true to yourself and putting.
Which again is a struggle I kind of had with Dune a little bit. I feel like Denis just went full artsy sometimes, and I don't think his blockbuster filmmaking is there as much as people say it is, because I hated the fight scene in that movie. I hate the fight scenes of that movie. Oh, but I know, you know, again, you know, I love these kind of era though with Denis, Luca, Guillermo del Toro, these kind of directors from all over the world, really putting different flares onto American cinema, which we need.
Absolutely.
Because I got so bored for movies for a while. I'm less bored this year.
Yeah.
I've had a good year this year, and things like, you know, Guillermo del Toro and all this, good filmmakers.
And you know what? There are, I think, no Marvel movies coming out this year, so I feel like
Deadpool.
Oh well.
That's our one. That's our one.
So we're kind of stepping away from that same formula that we've
We
been
have
getting for the past
one Marvel
15 years.
and one DC movie this year.
And that's it.
And it's Joker. So again, it's it's
Yeah.
Lady Gaga, Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Not really the DC movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in a year where we're gonna have a Dune, Godzilla, Kong. These two movies that did well at the box office. Challengers, I think, is gonna be a box office. Hopefully, fingers crossed, a box office contender. Do you think that has chances?
I think I don't know what the budget is for it. I imagine it's not incredibly high, but I think it has a chance. I think it's been promoted a lot. I know everyone that I talk to about it is so interested in seeing it.
Ooh.
So I think it's got real potential.
Oh, good. What a fun year this has been. What a fun time this has been. Let's get to our wrap up now. We are done with episode 2 of our podcast.
Yes.
Bro, this has been just so much fun. I just love talking about movies with you. That's why I invited you to try to do this with me. We will be doing more episodes of this. If you guys tune in, if you like it, even if you don't, I'm just gonna kind of, I'm gonna make Tony come over here and talk about movies with me as much as we can. So, anything you want to close out and say? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to promote?
This was absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy that we're able to do this, and thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more of me, I'm over on YouTube where I review movies. It is youtube.com/ImpressiveTony. And no, I don't think I'm particularly impressive. It's just the username.
I think he's pretty impressive. Good critic. Yeah, you guys can find me at Flickering Myth. I have my own channel, EJ Marino. I'm currently neck deep into American Horror Story. Kim Kardashian's eating y'all up on that show. She's so much fun. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Check out our channels. Check out more of our work. Comment down below and let me know what you guys are going to watch tonight.